Right, can you hear me at the back? Excellent, okay. Thank you very much for inviting us down here today. I appreciate it's the end now, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I won't keep you here for an hour or anything. What we're here to talk about today is how a busy IT department can manage multiple devices. So you don't need me to tell you that quite often at a school there might be 2 or 3 people running all of the IT. And if every request has to go through IT, it quickly becomes unrealistic and it can take days to get a simple thing done. So we're looking at kind of simplifying how that works, whether it's a Windows device, an Android device, iOS, or even OS X devices as well. So even MacBooks and things we can manage all from one interface as well. Also in terms of bring your own device, that is becoming much more of a thing now, especially in schools. So we fully support both institutionally owned devices and also devices that students are bringing in as well. And we're going to discuss kind of the best ways to manage those, whether they are institutionally owned or school-owned devices. So for those of you who don't know, Lightspeed systems have been around since 1999. We have 5 offices worldwide. We protect around 25 million students worldwide as well. But the main thing about us is we only focus on education. So we don't sell to an enterprise. I appreciate there's many other MDM solutions out there, but we only focus on education. So every feature that we've developed, every feature request we've ever had has come from a teacher or from someone in IT in a school. So it is all designed around how a school works and what a school needs to have a successful deployment of mobile devices. My name's Matt Price. I'm one of the sales engineers here. I've also got Jimmy Lee with me, who's the channel sales manager. I used to work in technical support, so if you do have any technical questions, please just put your hand up or shout out. I'll do my best to answer them for you. So the first thing to look for in a system like this is that it's device agnostic. So as I've already said, our system will support any device. Once you've enrolled them into a group, if you make restrictions for that group or if you do something like push apps to that group, you only have to do it once. You don't have to worry about what's compatible with each device because we have labels. So for each restriction, it will say Windows, iOS, Android, that kind of thing. So you can see at a glance what restrictions work with what devices. And once you've configured it once, it will then go to all of those devices as well. So you don't need to manage them in 4 different places. They will all be managed the same. It's all hosted in the cloud as well, so there is no appliance to have on site. It can be managed from anywhere where the IT administrator is, so they can just log onto our website, push out an app, make a change, and it's reflected on the devices within seconds. Or if it's an app, if it's a big app, it could be a few minutes to push out to everyone. The other thing to bear in mind is that we have a school-based hierarchy. So the advantage of this is it's really kind of important when you're pushing this out to consider how to deploy this and how to plan how you're going to organise your system within ours. So a really successful way that a lot of schools do it is they will have the IT administrator at the top of the system. They could then have classes underneath or teachers underneath. And what this lets them do is you'll have a centralised management page for IT. So they can go in, they can see everything from one system. Whereas anyone underneath, so for instance a teacher or someone who's in control of classes or a cart device, can go in, make restrictions on those cart devices, push them out, and when they log in, they get a very simplified interface. So if a teacher logs in, all they'll see is their group. You don't have to worry about someone accidentally going in and pushing out an app to the whole school or turning off the camera for the whole school or anything like that. It will just allow them to see what groups that they're responsible for. It's also very granular. So we can decide and we can check if someone's a student or a member of staff, and we can give them the correct restrictions, the correct apps, and all that kind of thing. So rather than having to have 50 copies of an app and give them out to everyone, we can give it just to the relevant students or to the relevant members of staff. Same thing with Exchange profiles. You might want staff to have Exchange profiles sent to them so they can get their emails, but perhaps they're not the same thing for students. So you can be very granular in terms of who gets these restrictions and who gets these apps. In terms of pushing out apps, it's just as easy. So we just have one button in the top corner for Install App. So a teacher can log into their group, push Install App, and then it will list all the apps they've purchased. We support the Apple VPP store, which I probably shouldn't mention too much. We also support the Microsoft App Deployment Store as well, and we support uploaded Android apps as well. So once you push them out, they will go to devices within seconds. I mean, the whole point of this is a teacher can log on during their lesson. They don't have to make a request to the IT department and wait for this to happen. They can just log in on the fly, make whatever changes they need, push out an app. The only exception would be if it's a really big app like iMovie, it might take some time to come down. I think that's about a gig now, but most apps will be there within seconds. Something that's...
Do you need any user intervention?
So the question was, do we need any user intervention in terms of pushing out apps?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, is the answer to that. So we do silent app deployments as long as you're part of either the Microsoft App Deployment Program or Apple's VPP program. We do support silent app deployment. So once the app's pushed out, it will install silently across all of the devices. They won't need to put in an iTunes password every time or anything like that. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you. But something that's often overlooked with an MDM system, I mean, everyone thinks, okay, we can push out apps, we can set restrictions, but one of the most important things is auditing as well. So keeping track of what devices you have, whether they're up to date with software, all that kind of thing. And we have really good reporting in our system now. So we can export to CSV if you need to import it into Excel or something like that. And we can give you a list of serial numbers, what type of device it is, what the name of the device is, what version of the software it's on, whether someone has gone in and tried to remove the restrictions as well. We have a flag that will tell you if someone's tried to do that, so you can take a very close look at the device and just check it is being filtered still. We can also have an email alert sent out if that happens. So we can email the head of year, or we can email the IT manager, whoever would need to know, so they can know straight away that someone's tampered with the device, and it might need a very close look at to check it is still working as intended. We also integrate with pretty much any student information system. So we have a tool for Capita Sims. Any SIS that can export to a CSV file we also work with. So the advantage of this is you don't have to make loads of users in MDM. You don't have to make all the groups from scratch. We can pull them straight from Sims or from any SIS that will export to a CSV file. In terms of getting this set up, we do have 24/7 support as well. So this is probably the most common support call is how do we connect Sims to Lightspeed. Normally takes around an hour. It's not that complicated, but we are here if you do need any help getting that done.
Sorry, is there a charge for the Sims integration?
Okay, so the question is there any additional charge for Sims integration? No, is the answer. The Sims app is included in your licensing. You don't have to pay for that. It's all automatic as well. So once it's configured, every night it will automatically update for you. Yeah. Okay, so can we deploy an app just to a class set, so for instance a physics class, that kind of thing, from Sims? Yes, we can. It's very popular in a school, if a school hasn't gone one-to-one yet and they are just kind of managing devices by the physics group, the science group, yes, we can do that. So yeah. We also integrate with Active Directory as well if you want us to. So having said that we are a cloud-based solution, if you want us to integrate with Active Directory, we can. So we can pull Active Directory usernames, email addresses, that kind of thing. So if you've got your users just in AD, we can get them from there as well. The way we do that is with an appliance on site. If you've already got our filtering system, then you can use the same appliance to do that as well. There's no additional charge for licensing for that. It's just the appliance you would need if you want to use the AD integration. Okay, so the question is, can we sync with both Active Directory and Sims or an SIS at the same time? Yes, we can. It's actually fairly common. So what a lot of schools would like to do is pull all their usernames from Sims. But for instance, the passwords, which might change quite regularly on Active Directory, they would like to authenticate using those passwords. So yeah, it's fairly common. We do support both of those. So quite often a school will pull all their users and their groups from Sims and just use the Active Directory passwords from AD. So yes, we can. Does that answer your question? Great, thank you. This is just a quote from ESA Academy. So for those of you who don't know ESA Academy, they're not our biggest deployment, but they are one of our flagship deployments. They're from one of the most deprived areas of Bolton, and it was a failing school for a while, but it has now turned around. They use our system, and they have a one-to-one rollout of iPads. And people actually pay money from both the UK and all over Europe to come and see this school, just to see how they do things, how they use both our technology and wireless networks and that kind of thing, and how they've changed education. So they are one of our customers. Now, the MDM is only one of our products. We also offer our web filtering product, also known as the Rocket. This allows you to have very granular filtering based on things like OUs, security groups, anything like that from AD. The most important thing regarding MDM is it does tie in with our MDM really well as well. So if it's a school-owned device that's going to be going home with students, if it's going to be going on a field trip or something like that, you can also have it so the device is filtered off-site. So for Apple devices, we use the global proxy feature, which means it just sends all the traffic back into your school network so we can filter it as normal. For Windows devices, we have an agent we can install, and that just means it sends us the URL request that a student wants to get to or a member of staff wants to get to. We make the policy decision and then either allow or block that page from there. Again, we've got the MDM, and we've also got our newest product, Classroom Orchestrator. Now, this is for Windows 8.1, Windows 7, Windows Vista, and also for Chromebooks. And what this will let a teacher do is they can have a computer at the front of their class, and it will show them a thumbnail of every student's computer screen. So they can check students are on task, they can check they're not playing games and that kind of thing. You can also record student activity as well. So if someone's doing particularly well at something, you can record what they're doing as a method for future students. If they're doing something inappropriate, it can also be used to record evidence as well. By default, it updates every 30 seconds, and the reason for that is we were looking at some competitors who I won't mention, but I'm sure you've probably heard of, and one of the biggest complaints we heard was that it was very high on bandwidth usage. So if they had 500-600 computers all running the software, it would use up a large amount of their internal network bandwidth. So we can customize it, so it's 30 seconds by default, or you can set it to live or anything in between, just depending on how much your network can cope with. Also integrates with the filtering very well. So if someone is, if they've tethered their phone to the laptop or they've somehow got off of our filtering somehow, underneath the thumbnail of their computer screen, it will have an exclamation mark symbol, and that warns you that they've tethered their phone, they're not being filtered, so they're probably not on task. Sorry, did you have a question? Yeah.
PCs and laptops and tablets and mobile phones, all in this room, on mobile phones, all different. Do you get a thumbnail for all of them?
So the question is, if you've got various devices, can you have them all shown on one screen?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. So we're seeing that, especially in our bigger American deployments, and I've got a video at the end which I'll show you of them using it. They have both Windows desktops and laptops, Chromebooks and Windows tablets as well. And they can sort it by groups, and they can just go into the group and see all the devices in there. I knew that question would come up. The question is, can you see what's on an Apple iOS screen? We do work very closely with Apple. At the minute, there is no API to do that. So as soon as there is, obviously we'll look to support that. Obviously, Apple they're very concerned about data security and that kind of thing. So right now, it's not possible. As soon as it is, we will look to support it. Okay. So what we're kind of looking to get from a successful deployment, first of all, engage learners because they're working on devices they actually want to use. They're not working on a traditional desktop or laptop they don't really care about. Especially if it's one-to-one, we find they take ownership quite well of these devices and they want to protect them. Involved parents. So if we're giving out a device to students or whatever, when it goes home, the parents can know that the device is being filtered and restricted properly. We can set different policies for time of day and night. So we can set it so they don't play Angry Birds until 2 in the morning or whatever as well. So parents can have that safety of knowing that the device is being managed properly. Confident IT teams. So this is because we've got a centralized system where it can be managed. Also got the ability to delegate control to other trusted members of staff, safe in the knowledge that when they log in, they're getting a simplified interface. they're not going to be able to access anything that they shouldn't be able to access, so someone else's group or to set something higher up in the system. Also, our 24/7 support is completely free. So in terms of implementing the system, and if you are implementing 500, 600, 700 iPads, you probably will need some help and advice getting it set up properly. It's completely free. As long as you've got a license with us, we don't charge anything else for support. And it's 365 days a year as well. And the ultimate aim is to have inspired teachers. So what we really want to see from the system is a teacher can go in, push an app out to their class on the fly, turn on the camera if they're going on a field trip for a couple of hours, and they don't have to wait days for this request to be actioned. So they can go in and make the change and actually make their lessons much more inviting and much more relevant to their students. So really we are kind of uniquely positioned to be both between technology and teaching. So we can, especially if you have all of our products integrated, they do link together really, really well. Now what I'd like to show you is just a very quick video from San Diego Unified School District in the US. This shows a very big deployment of Windows 8.1, how they've deployed the system and how it's kind of transformed how they teach.
I think one of my biggest goals is really integrating technology in the way that I teach. So the students are becoming more and more fluent, if you will, with technology, just as they are with every other skill. These devices this year with the Windows 8 software have absolutely helped with achieving that goal.
With Windows, there really is no limitation to its configuration. You can make it fit almost any scenario in the classroom that the teacher can think of, and that's why we love it. Couple that with the ability to use the MDM on top of that as another layer, we really have multiple ways now that we can deliver software, change settings, and configure these devices without ever having to touch them or even know that they're on our network.
I can probably speak for all teachers that to be realistic for daily use, it has to be something that works well and is fairly easy to learn and also manage.
We allow the teachers access to our Lightspeed mobile management product. We let them download and install apps as they need, that they see fit.
The biggest challenge is the management issue. As a teacher, I want to make sure that the students are on the appropriate sites, on appropriate apps, and I do use the MDMs, like an easy button to control your devices. You know, that easy button that you get at Staples, you just hit the easy button. It's just that easy.
One of the biggest things that having these devices in my classroom help with is just the ability to communicate not only in person but online with my students and them with each other. Also having a common platform where I have the same teacher computer and software that my students are using. It's been easy to use, and more importantly, it's been easy for the kids to learn.
One of the things I think that I really, really appreciate with Lightspeed systems specifically is that it really is a partnership, and the fact that the product is tailored for the educational institution, specifically K-12 for us. That's really what we appreciate the most.
Okay, so thank you very much for your time. I appreciate we have run over, so I promised it would be short, and it has been. Are there any questions I can answer now? Yeah, please.
Just saying that the filtering is capable of filtering devices at home through a home user's internet connection?
Correct, yeah. So for iOS devices, we have something called the global proxy. So what that means is any traffic, even if they're on the home Wi-Fi connection or on Costa Coffee or whatever, comes back through the school network, so we can filter it normally in line through the Rocket. It'll also be reported on as well, so either by their AD username or whatever. For Windows, we have an agent we install, so that reports the URL to us and we can make decisions based on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was only going
Brilliant.
to add on to that. We have Lightspeed through our LEA, so we don't have the Rocket in school, so we don't necessarily have that home filtering global proxy option. So I think that's probably what the receiver is coming from.
I know MDM was available. We're at Kent, local brother. Kent have Lightspeed as a global option on their broadband. I think MDM is available. What's the sort of pricing per device? And is it a per annum license, do you know at all?
Yeah, so it's per device per year. I'm more from the technical side. I'm not trusted with any sales information. That would be a question for my colleague Jimmy. Just to pick up on the rocket, if it's a hosted rocket, it can be configured, so you can still have a port number for that global proxy. It's worth speaking with the LEA and seeing whether that's feasible with the setup they have, but it certainly is possible. I mean, just because it's hosted doesn't mean you can't use that functionality. You certainly still can use the global proxy.
Previously, the answer, so it may have changed.
Fine, okay, but it is possible.
I think the only thing to add on to that is your video is very pushing towards teachers configuration. If I can get a teacher within 10 miles of a device configuration page, I'm doing really well.
Sure, and that is why we have designed it to be, I mean, the question was, will a teacher go anywhere near it because it's IT? And that's why we've designed it to be really simple. So all the restrictions are just switches. The teacher can just go in and flick the switch or push out an app. So that's why we have designed it that way. Me and my colleague Jimmy will be around for a little bit after this. So if you do have any questions, please come and find us outside. But thank you very much.